In our world lead, will the public ever get to see video of that controversial follow-up strike on the alleged drug boat in the Caribbean on September 2nd? President Trump last week said his administration would release video of that follow-up strike that killed survivors, which some lawmakers believe could possibly amount to a war crime.
Whatever they have, we'd certainly release, no problem.
Whatever they have, we'll certainly release, no problem. And yet, just a few hours ago, the president not only changed his tune, he denied ever having said that.
You said you would have no problem with releasing the full video of that strike on September 2nd off the coast of Venezuela. Secretary Hegseth now says...
You said that. I didn't say that. Whatever Hegseth wants to do is okay with me.
Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth said this weekend that officials were reviewing whether to release that video, and now lawmakers from both parties who were briefed and saw the video say it should be released.
This video was profoundly shaken, and I think it's important for Americans to see it.
I personally don't have any problem with it.
Those comments follow classified briefings last week where the official who ordered those strikes, Admiral Mitch Bradley, defended the move. Still, interpretations of what the video shows are wildly different, even though you just heard Senate Intelligence Chair Senator Tom Cotton of Arkansas say the video should be released. He also defended the administration's justification for the attack, saying that the survivors of the initial strike were not incapacitated.
They were not in the water, surviving only because they had a life jacket or hanging to a plank of wood. They were sitting on that boat. They were clearly moving around on it.
Meanwhile, some other lawmakers, including Congressman Jim Himes, you just saw him in there earlier. He's the ranking Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee. They say the boat had been clearly incapacitated after the first strike. Let's discuss this with another lawmaker who saw the video, Democratic Senator Jack Reed of the Senate Armed Services Committee. He's the ranking Democrat on the committee. He launched the bipartisan Senate investigation into the strike. He was in the classified briefing with Admiral Bradley. We should also note that Senator Reed served in the 82nd Airborne Division in the U.S. Army Reserves. Thanks so much for being here, Senator. So,
thanks, Jake.
What is the holdup on the release of the video? Can Congress make them release the video?
We have requested the video repeatedly. Both myself and Senator Roger Wicker of Mississippi, the chair.
The Republican, the chairman, yeah.
We've asked for it. We've asked for a slew of documents as well as the video, as well as the legal opinion that they used to claim everything was done according to the law, particularly the law.
You've seen the legal opinion. You just want to be able to release it.
I've seen the legal opinion, but it has to be released because I don't think it's a compelling argument for the conduct of the operation. So it would be good if real legal scholars on both sides of the aisle could look at it and say, this is not adequate or sufficient.
How would you describe the second strike? Were the sailors, were the people on the narco boat, alleged narco boat, were they incapacitated? Were they a threat to the United States? How would you describe what happened?
Well, the video is still classified, but in general terms, they pose no threat to anyone. It was a situation for them of desperation. They had just gone through an extraordinarily traumatic attack by missiles. 9 of their colleagues were dead, and they were in the middle of the Caribbean on what was left of the ship.
Is it true that that ship was actually headed to Suriname, which meant that likely the drugs were not going to go to the United States, but rather to Europe? Do we know that for a fact?
I can't comment on that. I can make the statement that the significant portion of cocaine coming out of Venezuela is heading for Europe and Africa, not the United States. You know, I don't think anyone quite knew or exactly where it was going. But the other reports are that the boat had turned around and was heading back to Venezuela, which suggests, again, not a threat to the United States. So there's so many unanswered questions. And that's why it's critical to get the information out. Let the American people see for themselves what happened. They can make a judgment, and their judgment would be, I think, very sound. Then let's get all the dialogue and the back and forth between the Department of Defense and Admiral Bradley. I think in the period, it's upwards of close to an hour between the first and second strikes, there must have been a significant amount of communication between the Pentagon. Now, Secretary Hegseth says he just looked at it for a second or so and then walked away and was not bothered by it for the rest of the day. I find that hard to believe.
So, as you note, when you talk about the legal justification that you would like to be released, all this focus on the second strike is kind of distracting from the fact that the first strike is also an issue, in the sense that this entire operation of what critics call extrajudicial killing, the idea that President Trump has now just decided that people who used to be treated as criminals, narcotic traffickers, are now being considered terrorists, and the U.S. has now just decided, the Trump administration, to kill them the way that they would a member of al-Qaeda. The Trump administration, when they're ever asked about this, will say things like, well, the media and the Democrats are siding with the drug dealers. How do you respond to that?
We're not siding with the drug dealers. We want to make sure that this whole drug trade is disrupted, but we also want to make sure that we follow the law. And there's a basic rationale. I spent some time, as you mentioned, in the Army. The reason we insist that the law of war be carried out by our forces is we expect our opponents to do the same thing. And how can we justify condemning an opponent if they are, breaking the law of war, shooting people who are shipwrecked? In fact, one of the definitions, models or examples they use is of shipwrecked personnel. And these gentlemen were certainly shipwrecked. Their ship was blown in half, basically. So if we don't enforce by our conduct the rules of law, then no one will, I fear, or they won't do it vis-a-vis us. And that is a disservice to the men and women who serve in the uniform of the United States.
The top Democrat on the Senate Armed Services Committee, Democratic Senator Jack Reed of Rhode Island. Thank you so much for being here, sir. Appreciate it. Big political